Hey everybody, welcome to Tattva Tuesday. This is Lindsay Warwick, the Conduit, on Spotify and YouTube, here with the Tattva Tuesday spiritual interview series where I interview guests and they come on here and talk about their spiritual experiences, their path, their spiritual offerings, and all of the things. Super excited to have Austin Shook on the podcast this week. He is a sound healer and event organizer, and he's also one of my friends. So I'm really blessed to have you on the podcast. Hey, Austin.
Hey, Lindsay. Thank you for having me on this platform. I'm excited to be able to talk a little bit and share a little bit about my story.
Yeah, definitely. So I met Austin last year. Yeah, last year. You did a sound healing in Lauren Calloway's space, the Wellness Center in Myrtle Beach, and it was life changing. And I felt like there was an immediate soul recognition between us. You know, our boy Archangel Michael connected us. Also, you know, you're friends with Alex and I'm friends with her as well. So it's just been so good to experience your sound healing and you and your energy as a person. So please share with us how you got on the spiritual path. It's a light
Well,
question.
that's a yeah, it's a long story. But to kind of sum it up and get to the good juicy stuff. When I was in high school, I had a really close friend who I would consider to be a brother. He was a troublemaker, I'd say, and got kicked out of his parents' house a lot, and found himself in a couple situations that I wasn't necessarily okay with looking from the outside in. So I asked him to come and live with me at my parents' house while we were in high school. And while we were living together, we would find ourselves in very deep conversations, especially for being 15 or 16 years old. And when we were having these conversations, we were able to look into the inconsistencies in each other's speech and in each other's movements, and really pull out things from each other like traumas or inconsistent thought patterns. And it wasn't like we were pointing the finger at each other and saying you're doing this wrong. It was more like an open and objectional conversation where we were pointing things out that we were noticing, just so that we could analyze them together to see what was the deal here. And a lot of times, just since we were able to look at this subjectively with each other, we were able to really pull things out and have emotional release and let go of these things that were not serving a purpose in our being anymore. And it was really beautiful to witness my friend choosing that for himself, because I would immediately notice a physical emotional release, which was sad and very beautiful at the same time. And then the next day or a couple days after, it was fairly simple to notice that he was happier. He was more authentic. People were having a better time around him. And it was beautiful to witness that whole thing. So I was able to recognize that and witness that from an outside perspective, and it was just incredible. So started wanting to be able to hold space for people in that same way, and started to do some research because I didn't exactly want to be a guidance counselor or a psychotherapist. So started to do a little research into holistic modalities and ways to create those same spaces. And I really found a deep connection with sound and sound healing, and sound and music really runs through my blood in a lot of ways. So it was easy to grab onto that and use that as one of the platforms that I use to share that medicine. Yeah.
I love that. And it's amazing that, you know, your journey started when you were in your teens. Um, and your sound healings are just so they're just so epic. And you play so many different instruments. Like it's just mind-blowing. So like tell us about like, you know, you said you were drawn to sound and music, but like what were some of your first experiences like? Like what was some of your first instruments that you learned to play and like how it progressed, because now
Yeah,
you travel and do this, and it is so amazing. You're living your dharma.
I am for sure. It's a really incredible feeling, and I think and at all the time we're always all living our dharma. It's just a matter of finding it and really tuning in and calibrating the way that we're living that dharma. And so just to back up for just a minute, you were asking about my spiritual path, and um, when I found sound healing, it's kind of interesting because naturally, through wanting to hold those kinds of spaces for people, and getting in touch with sound healing by constantly holding those spaces with something as powerful as vibration, it naturally sends me into my own work too. Because there's a awesome quote out there, something that says something along the lines of the doctor or the patient can only be as free as the doctor. So it really forces me into my own work, which I am very grateful for. And so it's really sound in itself has really progressed me down my spiritual path as well. Um, but yeah, so to go into this other question you asked, so sound, my parents had both been directors of 30 to 60 women in a cappella style barbershop music for my whole life, seemingly at least. My dad directed a military school band and took a lot of music classes and majored in music education from a military school, and then taught a band at military school. So I was in middle school when I first picked up the trumpet, and following the footsteps of my dad. Played that for 7th and 8th grade, and then fell out of music for a while. And then when I started exploring sound healing again after having these conversations with my good friend, um, I went on a big trip to Las Vegas, and then found my way to what is it out there where they have the big gym show, Tucson, Arizona, the world's largest crystal and gem show out there, and decided to stop in and get 9 crystal singing bowls. Those were my first sound healing instruments. I got them shipped home, and about 3 months or 4 months after I had them, I finally pulled them out of the boxes, and had 4 or 5 friends over at my house, and they were all just chit chatting, and I started playing the singing bowls, and then I started singing with them and toning with the bowls. And 10 minutes later, I stopped playing, and everyone kind of starts picking themselves up off the ground out of almost asleep. Like, what just happened? What was that? What's going on? And they all had big bug eyes, and I was like, I don't even know what just happened, but that was pretty cool. So yeah, from there, the same friend actually introduced me to another good buddy in Charlotte. His name's Andrew Simmons, and he works with gongs a lot. He has 4 gongs. So we partnered up with gongs and singing bowls, and from there, started doing workshops on my own, and started creating my collection that I'm still building. Over 6 years of doing sound healing and traveling around. Um, but yeah, it's been an incredible journey, and it's always fun to see what instruments are going to pop up next to become a part of the collection. Some of them all blow my mind when I find them, so it's fun to share that with others.
It's really inspiring and amazing. I like the drumming, and even just your singing is just so magical when you sing, and like the didgeridoo, all of it. Also, your image, just for the listeners on Spotify right now, the image just got so crispy clear of you when you started talking about the different instruments. So you're like super clear right now, because the image was a little like funky before. And now I can see where you are. That beautiful, you said you're at a beautiful deer sanctuary. There's all these lovely trees behind you. What state are you in?
I'm in North Carolina.
Okay.
Yeah, I know it's beautiful here for sure.
Well,
It's kind of in the city, but not really secluded too at the same time. So it's beautiful.
yeah, it looks super beautiful, and loving your shirt.
Thank you, thank you.
Sacred
Uh,
geometry.
uh, yes, Kevin May on Facebook creates these, so definitely check him out. He has a lot of cool things.
Awesome. So I know that you're also getting into hosting retreats. I saw that on Instagram and Facebook. So if you'd like to
Yes.
share with us about that little adventure that you have taken on now, love to hear about that.
Tour with sound healing about a year ago, and was in Tennessee. And someone that was on site was traveling as well, and they held a couple interviews that day for their business. And then when I showed up, the owners of the business said they invited her to the sound healing because she had her business called Be Love 528. And I say Be Love a lot at my different sound healings. It's a big part of what I like to bring with me. That saying is a great tool for everyone to take with them. So when I got there and I met this woman and shared with her these bracelets that I did a collaboration with. And they have the chakras on there. They have Be Love in a couple places and my logo. And it was just really incredible, the connection and synchronicity of both of us using Be Love. So I reached out to her 2 or 3 months later, and I knew that she hosted retreats. I found out that she was interested in helping me host a retreat that I've had planned for probably 2 years now, but haven't had the guts to really pull it forward or pull it off yet. But no experience of being at a retreat or hosting a retreat of my own. So we have combined forces, and we've hosted 2 retreats already this year. The first one was in Joshua Tree, and it was absolutely incredible. We always stay in incredible homes. Um, uh, and then we went out to Joshua Tree Desert. We climbed through the chasm of doom through these boulders. We went and ate dinner underneath the stars with an astronomer who was pointing out different stars with a huge laser, telling us how to find different stars and showing us different galaxies through, or at least one other galaxy through his really awesome telescope. We went scorpion hunting in the desert with a UV flashlight.
Wow.
We did a lot of we did a lot of Clint Ober out to the experience with us, who is the founder of the earthing movement with grounding and things of that nature. Really incredible products and ideas and inventions that he's created that allow you to ground back to the earth, which help you let go of a lot of inflammation in your body, which is what causes 90 to 95% of disease and cancer. And that's what he's found through his 25 years of research in this area. So it was really incredible to listen to him and to experience his products firsthand. And then we did our second retreat in Ocean Isle and did a lot of yoga on the beach and just hanging out and relaxing and just living that beach life. So um, yeah, we're our next one is in October this year, 2022, and we're gonna be hosting it in the Grand Tetons this year. So we're gonna have a great time.
That sounds amazing. And what's on the docket for that one?
So we'll be doing a lot of sound healing. We'll be doing a lot of yoga. We'll be taking a trip to the Grand Teton Park and having a guided tour by one of the environmental scientists, the different retreat tours out there. So we'll be able to see a lot of things up close and personal from the perspective of someone who really spends a lot of time in that park and knows it like the back of their hand.
I
And
absolutely
if
love that.
and if you've never been to the Grand Tetons, oh my gosh, it's an absolutely different world. I was out there on my own. I took a 40-day trip out to California to drop a friend off, and then a 40-day trip home. And on the way home, I stopped in the Grand Tetons and really experienced this alternate reality of just incredible. It was just God's nature, God's land out there. Very high vibrational land, and probably one of the most high vibrational places that I've ever experienced in a natural space. Um, Everything was just so synchronistic. It was hard to escape love in that space. And being there alone was incredible. And at the same time, it really brought that facet of, wow, I really want to do nothing more than share this with someone else right now. So that's what really started getting my gears turning of I want to be able to create retreat spaces so that people can experience some of these things the way that I have really had an awesome opportunity to experience myself.
That sounds so beautiful. So how many people like are you capping that at? Because I'm gonna look into that.
So our first two were capped at 10, and then this retreat in the Grand Tetons will be capped at 30.
Oh, wow.
So we'll have a big retreat. Yes, it'll be a good one. It's gonna be come on out. We do have a lot of interest though, so definitely get your while you can because it's gonna go quick once we start selling the tickets here probably in the next week or two.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question is like, when does registration open? Is there like an early bird thing you're doing?
No, we have enough interest that we don't think that we're gonna need to go with an early bird this time. So no early birds, but the dates are as far as when we're gonna start selling tickets is to be announced so far, but probably in the next week or two. So you can keep an eye on that on our website at beloverevolutionretreats.com. You can also check out our Instagram and Facebook, which is the same, Be Love Revolution Retreats.
That is so exciting. And I just feel so much joy when you're talking about it. Like I have this goofy smile on my face. If you're just listening right now, if you're watching, you can see me like, oh, I'm so happy for you. It sounds amazing. And there
Thank
was a
you.
question that came through. And now it has escaped me at this exact moment in time, but I'm sure it will. Oh, I know what it is. So it's perfect that you're on the podcast now because you're actually coming to Myrtle Beach, which is where I'm located, to Yoga in Common the weekend of the 24th and the 25th for the Love Fest. So this is very exciting stuff.
Yes.
Let's talk about it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm super excited about it. Got asked by Linda, the owner of Yoga in Common, to come out and share sound healing with you all during that awesome event. So I'm more than happy to come out, and I'm really looking forward to spending time and sharing space with everyone in the community again. You know, Myrtle Beach has such an awesome crowd. I'm looking forward to being back and sharing that time with you all again.
I know. I'm also excited that you're coming back because the last event that I participated in with you, it was in that beautiful space, like towards the north end. I cannot remember what the name of the event was, but it was like cacao and massage and sound healing and breath work. And it was just so amazing. And it wasn't 2 days, it was just one day, but it was just such an amazing experience. What was that? The healing heart.
The Healing Heart experience, yeah, and we were able to it was an awesome opportunity too to be able to host that at the Dunes, because that space is just it's just incredible. Being right there on the ocean front with that huge, beautiful ballroom, and yeah, it was awesome to be able to utilize that space for such an incredible event that seemingly had so many ripples and so much effect and transformation available for everyone who's there.
It was so amazing. It was just, yeah, like I said, all of the times that I've experienced your sound healings have been so profound for me. It's super healing. Um, so
And
tell
we'll have
me,
another Healing Heart experience coming up too in November in
oh,
Myrtle Beach. So
okay, awesome. Is it going to be at the dunes again, or is that to be determined?
that's the plan, but we don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, the plan. Right? Um, so yeah, I guess I just want to ask you, like, what are some of your favorite like places that you've traveled to do the sound healing, or if there are any, of course we don't have to name names or anything like that, but if there are any like experiences that you've had, maybe even doing like I don't know if you even offer one-on-one sound healings, or just any type of story that you want to tell, or about traveling or just working with people and how you've seen them shift through the frequency work that you're doing, because it's basically what you're doing with the sound.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, as far as people are concerned, it's really incredible thing to witness people's process. To be able to hold space where people can choose their process, and that's the biggest reason that I got into this work. It's there's a deep beauty to it, even though there's a lot of pain that can exist in those spaces. It's very beautiful that people choose to go through their pain to be able to it's beautiful, it's profound to watch people their process, and I'm grateful. As far as places that I've gone, just through my travels, as far as my tours go, what I enjoy doing the most is picking a place wherever I want to go, just to experience nature. And then I create a path from wherever I am to that place, and I call every studio along the way, and I reach out to everyone until I've created a tour along the path to my destination. So it's a lot of fun being able to work in the way that I do, because I get to choose where I go and when I go there. Um, and as far as the different spaces, all the national parks are just incredible. Crater Lake, Yellowstone, the Grand Tetons, uh, the Redwoods, Oregon, yeah, Idaho is incredible. It's one of the most underrated places. It's beautiful. Don't tell anybody that; they probably get mad. Um, and then, I went to Salt Lake City, Utah on the way out to California recently, or last year, and rode jet skis with a friend in one of the reservoirs. We did that all day. So, it's incredible. There are places of concentrated beauty, but I think that if you're in the right frame of mind, you can find beauty just about everywhere. And as far as the studios go, the same for the studios. I have studios that I've shown up to, and one or two people have shown up. Sometimes no one shows up. Sometimes it's just the owner who ends up being there. In other places, we show up and there's 60 people who have packed the house at a certain place, and it's incredible, and there is a lot of beauty in both of those spaces. So it's cool to be able to witness that too, and there's been a lot of healing in that perspective, because at first of my sound healing journey, it was like, of course, oh man, there's only one person showing up, or holy crap, there's 60 people showing up. I don't know if I'm going to do this or if I can do this, but there's been a lot of growth and a lot of learning in the process of how much beauty exists in every space with the right perspective.
Absolutely. I love that, because I've been asked that question, like, what's your favorite place? And it's really, for me, it's meditation is kind of my favorite place, because then I can go wherever I want to go. But I love that you said that you can find, first, I love that you said concentrated beauty. Like, I just thought that was like so poetic that you said that. And then you also said that you can find beauty wherever you are, like dependent on your perception. And I know you and I have had lots of deep conversations about perception, and you are a beautiful space holder. You hold this container of non-judgment and just security and safety, so people are able to open up and be love, be love revolution. That's literally
Yeah.
what you're doing. And it's so
Yes.
amazing and magical. So tell us a little bit about your own practice, like let's say you're feeling a little bit off. Do you go right to the sound, or do you do something else? Like, I'm always curious about people's different practices, spiritual practices.
Huh. Interesting questions. Um, it depends on what space I'm in, I think, for the most part, and what I'm going through. A lot of times I like to lean on the people who I trust and that are close and around me, for that support. Whether it's getting different opinions or different perspectives, so that I can find where mine is in all of that. Sometimes if it's really intense, I definitely dive into the Epsom salt bath really quick, with a quickness. And you know, and every moment of every day, I think, is something that I've pulled into being a part of my practice. Allowing my life to be a living meditation for what I want to bring into this world, what I want to leave in this world. And it's a practice, it's a constant choice, but it's something that through the practice you recognize that it's what you would prefer to choose over and over and over and over again anyway. So why not make that choice in every moment?
I love that. That's so deep and so true, for sure. Um, I just appreciate you so much. Um, Yeah, are there any like main guides that you work with?
Oh yeah, absolutely. You already know I'm a Jesus guy.
I
Jesus
know.
is
Let's talk
has been
about him.
yeah, Jesus has been the foundation and the focal point of why I do what I do. And it's interesting because I grew up in the Christian faith, and I would say that I'm more of a follower of Christ now than a Christian because of the dogmatic religious side of things and the amount of fear that is preached through that through that space. Um, the Bible says 365 times, do not be afraid, but a lot of people teach about the fear side of the Bible. So, you know, I think through having my focus on Jesus, he really showed me and allowed me to experience other cultures and really dive into other cultures to find the fullness of his truth in all of these spaces. And it really helped to broaden my perspective in a lot of ways, while maintaining that center of love, and at the same time, while maintaining that center of love, allowing it to grow to be able to encompass more or all things as Jesus taught in the first place. So yeah, Jesus has been a huge focal point and the foundation of everything that I do in this realm.
Yeah, I think the Jesus, the Christic energy, the Christic energy, the Christ consciousness energy is definitely something that I am attuned to as well. It's that Archangel Michael, Christ consciousness, and now pursuing the shamanic rose priestess path of Mary Magdalene, that all of that is Christ consciousness energy. And it's one of great integrity. Sometimes it's a little narrow of a path. I don't know if you can agree with that, but sometimes it does feel that way
Yeah,
for
that's
me.
an interesting point. Yeah, it's an interesting point, and there's a lot of different perspectives that could be had, but just to throw another one out there, a lot of things are paradoxical too. So a lot of
Yeah.
times when we feel like the path is more narrow than we can walk on, um, and then you start walking on it, you recognize how broad or how expansive it can be at the same time. So yes, and right.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, I know that you're a big Jesus guy, and I absolutely like can feel that energy from you and in the way that you do your healings and also just the things that you say and how you hold space. But would you say that there are some other like guides that you work with too?
Um, I think that I would say probably that's the guy,
Yeah.
It's hard to it's hard, and I would say that other guides show up into my experience. I wouldn't say that I necessarily seek other guides, but other guides have shown up to teach me different things in different spaces, whether that's Hindu deities. Hi, pup.
He just opened the door. Did you see that? I'm sorry, you were
Needed to be
talking
opened.
and he just opened the door. Okay,
That's
sorry.
awesome.
Continue. Yeah. Yeah, my dog, he's a genius. He just literally opened the door. Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
No worries, no worries. So, I've learned a lot from different Hindu deities too, Ganesh, Krishna, Ram and Sita, Saraswati, Kali. They all are different facets of the one God in my perspective and from what I've been shown. It's yeah. So, but Jesus is the full embodiment of all of those too, in my opinion. So,
Yeah.
when you are able to focus on the one, it encompasses all of the facets as well. So it's a beautiful space and a beautiful way to perceive on both ends of the spectrum.
Yeah.
Singularity and duality.
Yep, there it is again, that paradox. But yeah, it's almost like there are all those aspects of God, right? The different deities and the different cultures. And I've said this on the podcast before, but I really believe in many rivers, one ocean. So we have all these different facets, right? just like how we are this like meat sack, but we're also like there's so many different aspects of ourself as well, because if we go really deep, then we're all like God, like we're all aspects of God. At least that's like what I believe. And
Sure,
we
sure.
could just go like I feel like we could go down a rabbit
We
hole
could.
talking about that, but um yeah, for sure. And of course, like with the different chanting and all of that, then you of course bring in that the Hindu and like the Buddhist, the chanting. I've been doing a lot of chanting lately, just doing a lot of throat chakra work. Um,
Hmm.
and it's been fun, like kirtan. It's just fun, like just singing and not wondering or worrying about what you sound like. And I actually taught a class before this, before we started recording. And I sang at the end of my class, I sang the Heart Sutra, like Gate Gate Pergate. Yeah, that
Hmm.
that one. And there was a woman who went to the front desk after class and asked the receptionist, who sang that song at the end of class? Like, what song is that? And the other student was standing there and was like, well, that's Lindsay. She sings like during all the classes. So I got some great feedback, but I'm just so glad that you're on the podcast because I've been thinking lately on how I want to continue to move and learn sound healing, but I only know how to play my voice. Like I have a ukulele that I'm learning slowly, but I'm like, I feel like you are the perfect person to ask. Like if anybody listening or watching wants to get into sound healing, like what do you recommend?
Wow, that's an interesting question, and I love that you brought up the only thing that I have is my voice, because as a sound healer, that's truly all you need. Everything else is a beautiful tool and a beautiful gift, and can really really aid in creating those spaces sometimes. And at the same time, um, if you aren't a sound healer without the instruments, are you a sound healer? you know
Yeah.
so I think that's also a great question, because working with your voice, it opens your throat, like you're saying you were working that with your throat chakra, and it really tunes you in to how to express yourself. And when we learn how to express ourselves, it makes it even easier to become a clear channel when we are working with other tools like instruments. And that's been the biggest thing for me in sound healing, and becoming and progressing in my sound healing career, if you will, is constantly doing the work. The more work that I do, the better of a sound healer I become, because truly I can become a clearer channel for spirit to work through by doing the work. So that's one of the biggest things that I would suggest for anyone who's looking to do sound healing. Like, don't slack on the work, do it.
Oh yeah, for sure. I agree 1,000%. It's like, we're these spiritual beings having a human experience and we're like relearning things that we forgot when we came through like the birth portal. And also, yeah, I mean, to continue to do any type of holding space or healing, we have to, I firmly agree with you that I have to continue to do my own work so I can shed my filters and my layers, like peel back the layers of the onion so I can hold space and, you know, be just a guide, the hollow bone for people, or be the channel, like you said, to be the clearest channel possible. It's like I have to do the work on myself.
For sure. And also it's really cool with instruments, because you don't have to know an instrument for it to teach you. You don't have to know how to play the instrument for it to teach you how it wants to be played or how it can be played. All the instruments that I'm playing, or at least when I started them, I have no idea what I was doing with them. One of the most recent instruments that I got is called a guzheng, and it's a Chinese harp. It's an instrument that lays down on its side, and it has 21 strings. Well, it's in a scale. It's a pentatonic scale, so there's only 5 notes in it, and the notes are set up in a way that you can't make a wrong note, or it's really hard to make a wrong note. So that's how a lot of my instruments are. They're all intuitively played. Very rarely do I know what I'm going to be playing before I play it.
Yeah.
but a lot of the things that have come up for me in that are, you know, get out of your way, stop having expectations of what it should sound like, because in some situations as a sound healer, even accidentally messing up is exactly what someone else needs to hear in order to unwind some sort of inconsistent pattern that isn't serving them anymore. So it's finding those things. Where am I judging myself while I'm playing this instrument? Or how can I look at this differently in order to allow something different to come through that I couldn't have imagined, you know? So it's really cool sitting with instruments. You know, the guzheng also, I brought it into a sound healing the second day that I had it. I didn't practice with it a lot to make sure that I wasn't going to be embarrassed. I brought it in because we're going to see what the sound healing wants to do on its own. How is the guzheng going to show up in this space? And it's really taught me a lot of getting out of my own way too.
Wow, that's really brave and just bold and just in full trust and full surrender to that. You know what I mean? And I think that's amazing. And you got me thinking, like, maybe I should just sit with my ukulele and stop looking at the YouTube videos and just play it and do my own thing with it instead of like over intellectualize it, is basically what you're saying, I think.
Yeah, you can definitely do that. And just to throw this out there for people who are looking to learn ukulele or learning to learn music the traditional way, you know, it might be a little harder to do that way unless you can really tap into the intuitive side of an instrument that has so many different keys and different fingering patterns. You know, like I said, the instrument I was just talking about has 5 strings, you know, or 21, but it's the same 5 notes repeating over and over. So I'm not necessarily playing with different chord structures to create or emote my emotions, because if I'm trying to share my emotions, I'm going to need a lot more complexities in the music like you can get on a piano or in a uke. Sound healing is, for me, is more of creating a space for other people to feel their emotions instead of feeling mine. And you can do that more subtly and more easily with less notes, because it just encourages them to tap into themselves with less notes than emoting ourselves with the intricacies that we want to. So
Mm-hmm. I love that. That is amazing. And I also am inspired by the fact that you say you don't plan your sound healings. You just, I guess that you communicate with the instruments, like they tell you which ones want to be present and you bring them in, and then you just kind of go in without a plan, just say a little prayer, I guess.
exactly, say the prayer through the instrument, allow the instrument to be the prayer.
I
100%.
I love that so much. It's so good. If you know, if you're listening or watching and you have the opportunity to connect with Austin and go check out one of his sound healings. Now, do you offer private? Do you, yeah. What else do you offer?
Yeah. Yeah, I offer private sound healings and public sound healings. I travel around the country. I've been to over 30 states with sound in the last 6 years, working on 50, so a couple more. I do energy work sessions as well. I have been attuned to a Reiki master. However, I have slightly shifted a little bit to be a little bit more uh, full in my perspective of what I'm offering through energy work. So it's a slightly different, but I definitely use a lot of the things that I learned in my Reiki attunements and in those classes. And then, yeah, of course, hosting festivals. I just hosted my second annual Feel Good Fest just above Charlotte, North Carolina, in Concord. It was an inspirational music and arts fest with awesome musicians from around the country. We had a lot of vendors on site. We had food trucks and aerial performances, fire performances, a drum circle, water somatics demonstrations. It was a great time. So that's another fun thing that I've been diving into is the festival scene, organizing those, and then of course the Healing Heart experience has been a fun traveling event that I've taken to a couple different cities, which is the ceremony you were talking about earlier with the 90-minute cacao, 90-minute breath work, followed by a 90-minute sound healing with a 30-minute massage, and then the food and the price of the ticket after. Definitely would love to share this experiences with anyone. You know, that's that's the biggest idea and goal here, is to share these tools and to share these experiences that are really truly expansive and transformational with as many people as possible. So.
Yeah, and I'll definitely include in the little summary of this podcast episode how to contact you. So your website and your social media tags will be provided to the people so they can
Perfect.
connect and buy their ticket for your retreat and all the things.
Amazing.
Yes, so I'm super grateful that you know, decided to do this. I know I had asked you like a long time ago because I was like booking out for this. And it's just great to um, have you here talking about all the things. Is there anything else that you are feeling called to share in this now moment with in this capacity? Like it's all you.
Yeah, I mean, fun question, fun question. You know, usually I like to I like at a lot of my sound healings and stuff, I like to give everyone a story of how I came to understand my definition of love and what love is. And
Yes.
it's a fun story. And at the same time, maybe we can hold my story for a future podcast. But what I would like to encourage everyone to do instead is to sit with themselves and find and tune into what your definition of love is.
I love that. So, everybody, that is your Tattva Tuesday homework. We've never had homework on the podcast, but that is, I mean, you could totally tell your story of your definition of love. I think I've heard it, but the people haven't heard it.
They
Um,
haven't. They haven't. I don't want to encourage their understanding of love in this moment either, though.
okay, okay. Yeah, so I guess we could just leave the people with that as
Yeah, let's do that.
deep
We'll have a follow-up
pondering.
call.
We'll do a
Yeah.
follow-up. We'll do a follow-up. Yeah. I think I'm actually going to change the cadence of the podcast. I think I'm going to do every other week. So just if you're listening or watching, that's my plan, is to kind of continue this on Tuesdays, but every other week, just because I have some life changes happening. And but I'm getting a lot of great receptivity to this and a lot of positive feedback. So we'll have to have Austin back on the podcast to tell us his story of love and what it means to him. But yeah, we'll just leave you with that. I hope that you got something out of this. Please connect with Austin if you feel the call and check out one of his sound healings, or go on retreat. Thank you so much, Austin. You know, I have so much love for you. You're my soul brother, and I will be seeing you soon, sir, at the Love Fest. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much, Lindsay, for having me on this platform. I look forward to spending time with you in person and sharing with you all again in the future of how I came to find my understanding and definition of love.
Can't wait. All right. Thanks,
Yes.
everybody. We'll see you
So
in
then,
2 weeks.
be love.
Yay.